Brought to you by Penguin.
Down in the Valley, A Writer's Landscape by Laurie Lee. Read by David Sibley.
But it's still a free gathering place, and it's inhabited by coots and moorhens and dab chicks. I'm not sure what dab chicks are, but I wrote an essay when I was at the village school, Royal Society of Birds and Trees. They used to give prizes for essays about wildlife, and I think I made up a dab chick. I certainly never saw one, but I wrote an essay. I still got it.
Chapter 1. The Village Pond. This is our village pond. It's on the edge of Slad, down at the bottom of the village. It was where we kids gathered for fun, games, and secrecy. This was our kingdom, the centre of all our juvenile recreations, summer bathing, winter skating, and general gathering together to experiment with the first pulsations of sensual enjoyments. We called it Squire Jones's Pond. The squire gloried in having this ancestral, almost feudal possession of this place, but he never checked on us, and we could do whatever we wished. Since then, it's had some posts and fencing put up to keep people out, but we don't take any notice of them. These fences were put in by quite a nice man, but the previous owner put up the sort of wire that went round it like the Berlin Wall, and the villagers used to come down in the night with big wire cutters. So that didn't endure for very long. It's still a free gathering place. It's inhabited by coots and moorhens and dab chicks. I don't remember ever coming down and looking at a dab chick, but the coots were very close, bosom chums of mine. We used to spend many a happy hour together. These are the sort of things I remember, and we still come down here. In the summer, there are great flotations of pink lilies. They're a month behind this year. Aren't we all? But they'll be out by the end of June, and they're just like great stars of pink candle wax, floating on the water. It was at the village pond where almost everything happened in terms of games, village gossip, childish errors. It was a teeming little paradise of wild life, and very few people except we kids came here, and I think we were tolerated by the wildlife because they, and the horses in the field, it was the only life they knew. They got used to us. In summer we'd swim, and in winter skate and fall through the ice, chase each other, steal the moorhens' eggs, get attacked by the swans, and they're pretty difficult to cope with when you're a kid, because they have these huge wings and they would come like Concorde taking off. They'd come across us and bash into us, and we used to scream and jump into the hedges. There was one macabre, dramatic occasion that took place at this pond. The milkman, Fred Bates, the young man bringing the milk up to our cottage, one morning was late. One of my sisters asked him, "What kept you, Fred Bates? What happened?" And he said, "I seen her." "Who?" "Miss Flynn." "What happened to her?" my sister asked. "Well, I was coming past the pond, and there was what looked like a dead swan. I thought, that's a dead swan, and went over and had a look at it. And it was Miss Flynn. She was looking up at me with her eyes wide open and her hair all loose. And there was not a stitch on her, and she was drowned. And I dropped me bucket and I ran up here." And my sister said, "You'd better have a cup of tea." "Well, I've had about 5 already," because he'd been telling the story all around the village. So he became a bit of a hero. But we came down here, and the women were gathered around the pond, the village women who'd heard the story. They'd already taken her body away on a hurdle, and there was a sheen of milk still on the pond where Fred had dropped his churn. And I remember thinking, as the women were chatting between themselves, Miss Flynn. Poor Miss
Sample complete. Ready to continue?